welcome all of you wholeheartedly to this safe and creative space where we're going to be nurturing possibilities today. That you've allocated some of your most precious time and gathered from around the globe, as far as Myanmar and China, test to your vision and focus in using these anxious and chaotic days to achieve greater good for mankind and our planet by sharing service learning with your students and your children. So all of us here, thank you profoundly for what you're going to be contributing and exploring today. Our next gathering will be November 17th, which is a Tuesday, not to conflict with faculty meetings, and we'll be having a focus on school, both local and international partnerships, as well as youth engagement by inviting some of your students to participate in our conversation. So again, I want to thank you for coming today so that you can help answer how you help students respond directly to the state of society and the state of the world at this time, and feel good about your contributions to that, long-lasting contributions. I want to give special thanks to ECSL's Strategic Council partners who helped bring this conversation together, Marissa Najarian, Kathy Berger-Kay, and Johnny Rogers, to whom I'm going to now toss the center screen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Johnny, and aside from doing service learning coordination at Campbell Hall in Los Angeles, I also teach yoga to the kids there, and so that is why I'm going to help to lead us in a little bit of a centering moment. So if everybody could find in their seat some stillness, perhaps it might help you to close your eyes so you could focus on the sensation of your body in your seat. And once you have a sense that you are centered in your seat and you feel like you can be still without fidgeting too much, take a nice deep breath in through your nose and try to send that breath into your belly. And let it out through your mouth. We're going to try that again. Inhale through the nose, send it as low into your abdomen as you can. And at the top of the inhale, just hold it for a moment. And then on the exhale, purse your lips and slowly let the air out as slowly as you can, focusing on the sensation of the air leaving your body. And we'll do one more inhale through the nose. And this time, just in a very relaxed manner, exhale through the mouth. You can sigh it out. You can even make it audible if you like. And let's do a couple more sighs, actually. I think that maybe we all need to sigh a little bit. So inhale through the nose, filling up all the way, and a nice audible sigh. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Fill up the belly, filling up the chest, and relaxed exhale through the mouth. And now just allow your body to breathe itself. Don't direct the breath. Allow the inhale and exhale to come naturally, just as though you were sleeping. And bring your attention to the sensation of the breath moving in and out of your body. And you could focus that attention perhaps on where the breath is entering, either through your nostrils or your mouth. You could focus on where the breath is expanding in your abdomen or your ribs. But if you find yourself distracted by sounds, bring your focus back to the sensation in your body of the breath coming in and out. Receiving on every in-breath the life that the universe is giving you, and releasing on every out-breath all the stresses and worries and cares that you carry from your day. Inhaling life force. Exhaling negativity, toxicity. And that's literally what our bodies are doing. Every exhale we get rid of the parts of the breath that we don't use and we don't need. So you can imagine on your exhale that you're letting go of those things that no longer serve you, that are only a weight to you. And let's do one more big inhale. Let's make it as big as we can, breathing in through the nose, filling it to the belly, up through the chest, and expanding into our shoulders even. Sip as much air in as you can. Hold it. And release through the mouth. Let it all go. Completely relax your torso. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny. So we are going to turn next to Kathy. One of the main points of being in our space today was that we wanted to continue meaningful conversations that we had begun last time that we were in this space. And so Kathy's going to walk us through a couple of ideas and things that we can bring with us into our breakout room space that will be useful for us.
Thank you, Marissa. Hi, everybody. How about we just all turn on our microphones for a minute and just give a rowdy hi, hello, welcome, something. Everybody in the count of three. Ready? 1, 2, 3, bring it.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. I haven't had enough sleep. I need a little energy boost here. So there you go. Thank you. So before I get into meaningful conversations and a little bit about that topic, I wanted to share an upcoming event with you that I hope you'll put on your calendars because it's very exciting to me. There's a group called the Decameron Project. I hope you look them up. They're basically what I would call an amazing group of young people who on their own started a project to bring other young people together from around the world to look at writing and words in these incredibly unusual times. They modeled this on the, what happened in the plague in the 1300s in Italy, where writers got together and sequestered and survived the plague by writing and sharing their writing. So these teenagers, high school students, have started the Decameron Project, and they also create events for adults. Check out their website, you'll be blown away. So Mahogany Brown, this is the first in a series of 3 on change. Mahogany Brown is an award-winning slam poet and a Black Lives Matter organizer. This is October 5th, October 23rd, I'm sorry, and all the information is on the shared Google document, or you can email me. It's connected with Documentar project you've heard me talk about, because all the writings that students submit before and after will be posted on Documentar and on the Decameron project, so they have a global platform. Please check it out. I think you'll be very impressed with what they're doing, and it's just an incredible tribute to youth ingenuity. How many of you are going to check it out? Just give me a hands up. Anybody? All right. Thanks, John. Okay. All right. So we always like to just pause for a minute, and this is part I want to mention about meaningful conversations. We launch into work all the time with students and with community partners, and yet we need to do what Johnny's doing, is just take a breath for a moment and also create agreements, invitations to work together. I think this is more and more a critical part of the collaborations we seek and with whatever population we're working with. So Marissa, you're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the first 2. So honor our multiple identities, because we bring so many identities with us. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a wife, a writer, a screamer, a ranter. I mean, so many things these days. And I need all of them to be present in the work I'm doing, and I need other people to honor who I am. Also, there's a really wonderful phrase, literacy moments, I learned from my colleague, Chris Dadafumi. And a literacy moment is when somebody says something and you don't understand. This happens all the time. Yet when we often just graze over it and don't pause. I think we model for our students and other adults around us when we pause and say, could you explain that? Or I don't know what that means. So the more we bring in literacy moments and give permission for that, the more learning that will take place and transparency of learning will occur. Marissa.
Next up is step up and step back. It's an important part of the metacognitive process that we have in a conversation, where we're thinking not only about what we want to bring to the conversation, but always considering whose voice is maybe not in the space yet, so that we find ways to save space for all those voices and perspectives that we might not have heard. And one way that educators do this in other opportunities is to consider, how do we hear from students who might even not be apt to share verbally? And in our space, the way we're doing that today is providing a shared document to glean some ideas from all of you, even if you don't have a chance to finish some of your thoughts or you'd like to add more. So just a reminder that there are times when you want to step up and add your voice, and there are times where you might want to step back and leave space for another voice. And then next up is what's shared here stays here and what's learned here leaves here. And one connection that I was making to this is I hear a lot of people saying, this is not my story to tell. You sometimes want to pass the torch and give it to somebody. If it's their story, allow them to tell it in their own way. Or someone might say something like, this story is shared with permission, because you might have gotten explicit permission from someone to share that. But when we synthesize stories and we synthesize information and we process it ourselves, that new knowledge that we create from a bunch of other stories is something that we can share, because that new knowledge does belong to us. So the things that we learn from this space, we can carry with us, and the things that we share here intimately in the breakout rooms, we can leave aside. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the idea of plagiarism. You can't steal someone's story in its entirety, but if you do your research and you glean things from here and there, and you come up with your own knowledge base, that is something that you want to share out to others.
And if I walked up to Marissa to give her a hug, if I was able to, and stepped on her foot, that wouldn't be a good thing. And so that's the difference between acknowledge intent as distinct from impact. My intent would be to give her a hug, but I step on her foot, which can cause pain. So we are always aware that what we do may have other consequences we're not aware of. And it's really, this is a space where you can bring that to mind to someone and let them know the impact was different than intended. And that's a good way to have transparency and meaningful conversations. So we're hoping that today, as always, you're present. I know we all like to multitask. I'm going to actually put my phone down away from me and be open to learning and taking risks, just trying some new things, because that's how we learn. So I want to encourage you to think of what are the agreements or invitations you need to make when you're working with students, when you're bringing in partners, because I do think it shifts the energy, and I find it always improves the conversation. So we're going to break down for a moment what meaningful conversations really is. And if I were doing this with more time, I would open up a whiteboard and we would actually have a space to brainstorm all the words that come to mind with meaningful and all the words that come to mind with conversation, and we would workshop it. So I want to bring that to your attention as a way to have students do this when you have dedicated time for this kind of deeper dive. But today, because we're moving a little quickly to get to our breakout rooms, I'd like you to open up the chat box. And I'd like you to put in there, don't send yet, we'll send all together. When you hear the word meaningful, just the word meaningful, what word comes to mind? So put your word in, and I'm going to count down from 5, and then we'll all send at the same time. And then I want you to look at those and then just call out the words that stand out to you. So we all need to participate. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, send. Got important, human connection, authentic, heartfelt. What words jump out at you? You can turn on your mic.
Moving.
Purpose.
Honest.
And
Relevant.
what was that?
Relevant.
Relevant. Yeah. All right, and we're going to do the same thing with the word conversation. So write the word in, and then I'm going to count down. What word comes to mind when you hear the word conversation? All right, so I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. First one I saw was reciprocal. And Emily, I love that you wrote Zoom.
Sorry, that's my humor coming out.
I love it. Two-sided. Connection, what words jump out at you?
Relationship.
John, I love that you wrote two-sided. I'm often having conversations with myself. I'm sure other people are. And I used to think, oh God, I'm always talking to myself. And then I learned that was a sign of genius, and I gave myself a pass. So if any of you are self-talkers, or out loud talkers. Johnny, you like that. I think that must be you, right? So it's a sign of genius. So embrace yourself and just go forward with that. So there's a lot of sharing, like you said, Todd. And so when we look at meaningful conversations, there's several areas we want to be aware of. One is being aware of self and our role in the conversation. I think by setting up those agreements beforehand, that's one way to be aware of self and stepping into intentionality and being connected with what you agree to do in a space. And again, there's a lot more I could say about these things, but I'm kind of condensing what is often a 2 and 3 hour workshop and providing for schools around the world into like 10 or 12 minutes. So bear with me. And the second part is being aware of others. So that's part of that two-sided as a reciprocal or dialogue that you were putting in the chat box. So as I've been developing these workshops on meaningful conversations, because I think this is a critical topic to bring forth in these times especially. So I've been thinking about meaningful conversations occur within a context of purpose, as was stated, connection, continuity. We want these conversations to start and not be over. We want them to extend over time in all kinds of ways. And bravery and courage. So I was chatting with a colleague of mine about the difference between bravery and courage as it affects our sense of self and meaningful conversations. And bravery to me is when you step up and you put it out there, right? You step up and you put it out there and you take that brave moment. I think we all know what that's about. Courage is slightly different. Courage is when you do that act of bravery, but knowing you could meet resistance, or you could be stepping into a place where there's bias against you and you do it anyway. You step up regardless of what the feedback might be, you still take that risk. So they're not, I'm not qualitating one is more important than the other, but this is one way to think about it. And I'm still in process, so I'd love your ideas and opinions. Another aspect of meaningful conversations is it moves us through this process from the bottom up. It helps us go to interest, like discover our interests, like what are we interested in? And it leads us to curiosity, which can lead us to deeper inquiry, to discovery, and then possibility. Now, I want to confess that I used to have the top word passion, because everybody wants youth to find their passion, but I don't know. I think passion is a very adult word. What age did you find your passion, right? It could be older, it could be younger. And one of the things that happens is a child could be passionate about one thing and then it's over in a split second as they go fleeting through life. So I don't think passion is really the intention. I think it's possibility. And I think that takes the pressure off what we're doing. So when we're looking at this aspect of meaningful conversations, so we're stepping into what we call courageous conversations where there's difficulty or there's real, there could be real conflict going on. Or when we have a tendency, especially to have judgment, we need to step back from judgment. And one of the phrases I use in those moments is tell me more. Because even in those moments, if I ask why do you feel that way? There's a bit of judgment in that. That's an imposition. Well, why do you think that? So we want to be conscious that the more we can remove judgment, the better the ongoing conversation, the trust is built. So tell me more is one way, for example, to open the door. Let me think about it. I was thinking about it, and this is some thought. So I want everyone to open the chat again, and you could just start populating. What are the phrases you do to build safety and connection between people in those moments where it could just go off the rails? I think you all know what I'm talking. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Or could go off the rails, or a student could feel judged or back up. So take a moment, and what are the phrases you might use that help bring people together in those moments as opposed to separating them? So take a moment and just, if you would like to, just put something in the chat box. What are the words you use? This actually happened for me with a daughter yesterday who was having some problems, and she wasn't sure she wanted my input, didn't want my input. And all I said was, I'm here for you, is all I said. So what are the phrases we use? And if you don't want to type it, just turn on your mic and share it. I'm not seeing them populating, so we're either taking time, which is fine. Thank you, Vinny. Has anyone thought of anything similar? I know what that feels like. I'm hearing you. Thanks for sharing that with me. I've been through something similar. So, Madeline, is it okay if I challenge you a little bit on that one? Do you mind? Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I just want to say that sometimes when we say to people, I know what that feels like, we might be making assumptions that we know how they're feeling, and everybody's feelings are so unique. So I think by saying, tell me more, or what's that like for you, or I was in a situation and this is how I felt, rather than telling someone that I know how you feel, may be a better way not to make impositions or assumptions about people. So that's just one thought I wanted to share.
Okay.
So, any other thoughts or feedback on this? All right, I'm going to go back and so when we think about being aware of others, and rather than write in the chat, could everyone turn on your mic? What comes to mind when you want to be aware of others? What do you think of immediately? Just toss it out there. First thought, and please, this is where you just take risks and throw ideas out there.
Everyone has a different perspective and background.
Great, thanks, Emily. Who else?
You don't know what you don't know.
More and more.
Create safe spaces.
Thank you. Any other
So-
ideas?
It's okay to ask questions.
Thank you, Vinny. One or two more. What does it mean to be aware of others? There's some that are even very obvious. All right, I'll just move on. So when I've been thinking, working it through, one is just showing up and staying present. Again, we have so many distractions that can pull us in many different directions. So being present and letting the person know you're really there, I think is really critical. Also, Vinny, as you said before, ask. Ask for clarification, ask for understanding, ask for literacy moments, ask how are you feeling, so that we can grow from knowing what their perspective is, building on what you said as well, Emily. Also, hold stories or the presence of others without judgment. I think judgment is just pervasive, and youth feel judged all the time. I think we all can. And the more we can remove judgment, the deeper our learning can go. Also, tune into the person. Just tune in, see where they are, and step back and give them space to have their feelings or have their reality or have what's going on for them. And follow up when you say you will. If there's something you can provide or find out, be sure to follow up as you said you would, and listen. And listening is something we do with our whole body, not just with our ears. We listen with our heart, with our mind, with every part of us. It's not just with the ears, it's with all of our being. So I was sharing, I was sharing with Melissa and Donna a video that I've been using in thinking about meaningful conversations, and we decided we'll share this with everyone today. We really haven't shown videos before, we realized, so this was new for our group. This is a video made by someone from Santa Monica. I don't know if she went to a school that you're at. Her name is Kalina, and she began an experiment a couple of years ago to move from small talk to big talk. So I hope you will enjoy her experience of big talk, and we'll see you on the other side of the video.
Hi, I'm Kalina, and this is the beginning of an experiment called Big Talk. I wanted to be able to go out, meet new people, and instead of just make small talk, actually have deeper, meaningful conversations with them. Kalina.
Get your hand on TV.
What do I want to do before I die? Oh man, jeez.
That's a deep question.
Oh, or what do I want to do when I grow up? You mean job-wise?
That's a hard one.
Wow, that's a tough one.
Is it just one thing?
Well,
I want to learn how to scuba dive.
Travel the Appalachian Trail.
Go to the priest and make a confession.
I'd like to be a herpetologist, somebody who studies reptiles and amphibians.
See my kids graduate from college.
Make every moment count.
Live without any alcohol and drugs and problems, big problems like that, and just be happy day by day.
Being able to reconcile with my father and say I love you to him.
I want to have a wife and kids. I wrote like an essay on it when I was in 5th grade, and I remember all my friends made fun of me because everyone was like, I want to be a sports star or a movie star, but I want a wife and kids.
I'll be happy because I already live, before I lived very bad. I was homeless for 13 years.
Maybe call a lot of my friends.
I'd probably text all my friends.
I would take a road trip to go see someone today. I can't say. I would tell them that I love them. Yeah.
Do they know you love them?
I think so.
What would I want to do today if I was to die tomorrow, if I knew I was going to die tomorrow? Be with my family.
If I knew I was going to die tomorrow, I'd get on the airplane to go be with my son. See, now it's literally, I'll say the most significant relationship that I have, being 18 and having a baby.
If I were dying, I'd love to have Charlie on my bed. Ray was dying. He had this little fluffy dog that cuddled right next to him and would not. Oh, that's fascinating. There's a dog bark. Do you love that or what?
Be in denial, thinking it's gonna happen. I can't die.
My mom said that the day before she died, that if she were to die tomorrow, she would have lived the fullest life ever, and then she died unexpectedly the next day. So this is a very personal question. So family's always been of most importance to me.
Then when I was about 50, I guess 50, I fell in love with a woman.
Yeah, my dad's black from the South. His father was murdered by the KKK when he was 5.
Like, I have 2 children that are 19 and 20 now. It just seems like just yesterday, like when they were little, you know. The time goes by so fast. I don't even feel like I'm really any much older, you know, than when they were kids. And
I love my life so much right now. I used to not like at all. I used to hate my life. There was this girl that I really liked, and I went up to her and basically told her that I liked her. And she was like, "Oh, you're kidding, right?" And then I was like, "Oh, yeah."
I didn't really see that.
Why do you think you're a sinner?
I am a human being.
I could at one point say I hated my father. If I had died without reconciling with my father, I think like I would definitely would not be able to sleep at night. And I think being able to do that just brought me a lot of freedom.
Family is everything. But everything else is meaningless.
People's relatives are their wealth. This is their true wealth. If you have a relative, you have to treasure them.
We have to respect the person from the world they have walked in, that they are, who they are.
Now, when you get who you are, you have the confidence and the power to do anything that you want.
I want y'all to understand this out there in TV world. You have to be 100% with yourself no matter what you do.
Walk by a stranger and never talk to them.
Yes.
The fact that you're coming and talking is nice. It's like, it's connection and...
Thanks so much.
Of course.
So popular.
She wants to be my money when I get famous.
It's part of what I think I'm crying now.
And last thing, what got you guys up at sunrise for this hike? I asked him out on a date.
This was good. And I like doing this. This was good.
If I hadn't approached these people, I probably wouldn't have ever met them. And by choosing to make big talk instead of small talk, I was able to learn what people really care about in life.
What music should we come up with?
My favorite music is the 80s. That's my favorite.
I say we're holding
Almost
this
all
interview.
the
I say
80s
classical.
movies
We'll
are
be
very
sitting here right now. I see some classical music playing
Rock.
in the background while you sit here
80s
holding
rock.
this little interview.
Hi, I'm
So I just would love people to turn on their mic and just give any response you like to watching that. If that was just any response at all, any thoughts, response?
Those are my favorite kinds of conversations.
Definitely not something you would expect somebody to ask you on the street, that's for sure.
I actually knew someone in that video from USC and was still in contact with them, so it's kind of funny. He was a film student, so that's probably why he might have been in there.
Really saw the reciprocal side of that. You know, both people benefited, both got a lot out of that. So it was great to see that.
We posted the link in the Google Doc if that's something you want to see again or use. She has TED Talks and other resources on her website. I wish you all big talk, and I hope this is all thought-provoking and carries you into the next section of our day-to-day. So thank you.
So Kathy, thank you for setting the stage for us for now our conversations, which we hope will be a space to move from big talk to small talk. And I added in just there that it absolutely is okay to cry in our breakout rooms. It's happened before, and we welcome it if you get there to that place. But I just posted in the chat the shared document that we'll be using today. That goes through our process for the breakout room session. And when we get into that space, you'll be able to choose a scribe once you get to your breakout section of the document. And you can choose a scribe and have someone help moderate the time. We'll each have 5 minutes to reflect on these big talk questions. And the ones that we came up with for our session today is, what is the question that matters most to you right now in the context of service learning? What do we want to create? And what begins or continues our journey? So we'll be spending 5 minutes reflecting on that ourselves and going around tossing the conversation to the people in the room. And after doing some crosstalk there, you can continue the conversation and share resources and thoughts on how to move forward. After our 35 minutes in the session, I'll prompt you on the screen to choose someone to share some highlights or a breakthrough moment from your rooms when we come back to reflect on that time. So without further ado, I'm going to send you off into your rooms. Please hang back or come back in if you need anything, if you may have been placed in the wrong space. And we will see you on the other side. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll be having some more people branch out here in a second. And thanks for letting me know which room you were planning to join.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hi, Lisa.
I don't know what happened.
Welcome back. Did it kick you out?
I'm the only one back so far.
Oh,
Cute.
any minute now. Sometimes it'll prompt you and you can select to come back, and they might not have selected that
So
quite
weird.
yet. I know, it is weird.
I just like disappeared and
We'll see everyone back after a certain time. It kicks everyone out. See, there we go.
right. Okay, and I'm going to.
Welcome back, everybody. As we re-enter the space, I broadcasted a message that hopefully you might have had a moment to see if there was a representative that could share a highlight or a breakthrough moment from your rooms. We hope that this space has offered you an opportunity for a little bit of breathing room It's funny that breathing and breakout sound similar. Hopefully you had a little bit of breathing room for meaningful conversations. And also just a reminder that there are a lot of community-wide resources available to you on the shared document with voting resources, current events, volunteer opportunities like the ones that the current event that like Kathy had shared. And we really encourage you to read through and see what was discussed in some of the other rooms, because often it really offers a sense of solidarity for what we're all trying to accomplish. So we'd love to hear some highlights from some of the rooms. Is there someone in maybe one of the advanced rooms that wants to share some perspective? Do we have a rep from any of those rooms yet?
I don't know that we actually chose a rep. I think we were sort of deep in the conversation.
Yeah, great.
But I can give it a shot for our room. We had a lot of interesting and I thought very insightful answers to our questions. And we talked a lot about, first, we talked about how service learning can be leveraged to dismantle and disrupt racism and racist systems. And more generally, and this is mostly coming from Tanina because she went first, this idea that she shared from Brian Stevenson that we have to be proximate to the problem and make the invisible visible, and to continue the conversations to reveal what in fact is invisible, so we can change the narrative. And that dovetailed, I think, into this larger conversation about how service learning is best used as a tool to question and disrupt entrenched systems. And that systems thinking is how service learning is best utilized and approached to change the mindset behind why something is happening in a particular way that is not serving a particular population. And that concept, I think, was sort of elucidated in several different examples and facets of this journey. But it all came back to this questioning of like, why is this the way it is? How can I challenge that norm? What can we do to get people to step back and reflect? And it's not just about changing people, but about changing the systems that people work within. And that is all sort of leveraged through this idea, this more positive sense of connecting everyone to everyone, and that we are connected intrinsically anyway, but it's about revealing these connections and how we are affecting one another in ways that we might not initially see. And I think that was sort of the essence of our breakout room in as short of a nutshell as I could make it, considering how much we covered.
Thanks, Johnny. I see Jenny has her hand raised. Perhaps she's sharing from her group.
I am, yeah, it's not me.
Okay.
Before we move on, I just want to make a note that that's really critical that, and we have such a short time with the meaningful conversations part, but every conversation we need to look at it through what we're calling a JEDI lens, justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, that we're making sure that we're being thoughtful about who's at the table, who's missing, what perspectives are there, what aren't, so that we're making sure that if this is not, that we're not building upon stereotypes or misinformation, that we're always dismantling and replacing inaccurate information with accurate information. So I was very glad you raised that.
And so from our other A group.
Our new friend from Shanghai is presenting.
Great.
Go, John.
You're just throwing me under the bus there. I love it, Jenny. Okay. Well,
You're on a roll.
I feel awful because in terms of like recording, well, we were just lost in like conversation for the entire time, and I was like, oh no. So I will have to go back and revisit that document. But I think a big thing that like came up for us was, I mean, like during this time, how do we first like make sure that our students don't have like fatigue from just kind of like they are well, making sure well that they are taking care of themselves from us well, from like an SEL like and like standpoint, but also how can we even like during this time like well like Documentar is this amazing like initiative in terms of the platform to just share. So how can we just have students like continue to share from all over the world, from or on a smaller scale, like in between schools? How do we create more of those opportunities for just sharing what is happening to keep up that like momentum? And whether that is stuff in the classroom or whether that is stuff that is or more just like building like that awareness. I know that, well, at least in our room, like we had students from all over the world. So like we have we have some students who like don't even know what like Jedi means. So how can we just start and like scale back from square one? Like what are some like resources to provide those students? And maybe like create a school culture of like empathy and service on a small scale that just kind of starts to like permeate and make sure that us as like professionals like don't get caught in those traps. So whether that's establishing some sort of like like Jedi team of us as well to make sure that all of us are still like being mindful of these things. But like we were just lost in conversation a lot of the time. So
That's a good thing. Every group's process is different. How about from our M group?
I just want to mention that one reason I'm a little foggy today is I was up all night working with students in Moscow, and we led the high school, Chris Neal and I led a workshop on Jedi principles for high school kids. And there's such an eagerness out there from youth to participate, to think, to understand what these terms really mean, and to see what's happening with them in the world and within their own school, so they can be part of the change, because otherwise they're not engaged. And we want young people to be at the core of what needs to change in schools, because it's systemic and it's ongoing, and we have to be relentless in moving that forward.
Kathy, what school were you working with?
The Anglo-American School of Moscow. I'm kind of a distant faculty member all year to help them with these ideas and other processes.
So we have also our N group and our M group left to share a couple remarks before we're almost finished with our session. And we're
I'll say a couple things about our M group. So I noticed, so we all had different types of backgrounds and experiences, but one thing we all had in common was that we were all feeling a little overwhelmed about our current situations, and it's really easy to really just struggle with finding the right ways to continue service learning or how to build upon the things we have. And one key point that we brought up was maintaining connections with the partnerships that we've built up through your service learning programs. And we had some really good advice about reaching out to different organizations that you're partnered with and say, okay, well, how are you doing in this pandemic? How are you doing with your situations? What can we do to help? And how can we ensure that there's learning on both sides, going back to this reciprocity and reciprocal service? And so we had some really good conversations about that, as well as brainstorming some possible ideas of, how can we modify things that we're doing? Are we doing more advocacy types of things? Are we doing more research? And, how can we accommodate our students to where we can still connect with them on a deeper level so that they are more engaged, they are more interested, and they're more, and they're more willing to put themselves out there and take those risks and really have those deeper conversations. And so I think that just was a brief summary, but yeah, it was a really good group, a really good group of people, and it was good to get some feedback from everyone.
Thanks, Benny. And Donna, you're going to share?
Group N, well, I hope it's okay, Tanette. I'd like to toss to you. Tanette is brand new to ECSL, like 5 minutes in or something. And this is her first meeting. But our conversation followed the pathway of Johnny's group's conversation. And Tanette really had a lot of profound things to say, as did Amber. And I'm going to throw out, Amber is interested in engaging student council. And I know somebody done a lot of student council outreach and work and things like that. So, you know, please either send me your email and I'll connect you with Amber. She's looking for those sorts of ways. We talked about entry points, but I'm going to toss to Tanette. So.
Okay, well, we didn't discuss that in the breakout. No, I'm thankful to be in the space today. You know, I think that it was very similar to what the first group shared, that a question that kind of keeps me up at night, and we all kind of, you know, share the same sentiment, is really around how do we make sure that the service learning that we're partaking in is disruptive, right? Disruptive of the status quo. And I think that we kind of had a discussion around how important that is, that it is very intentionally designed that way. I think how, you know, that it's co-constructed with students. I think a lot of times when we have things like this, you know, it's adults making decisions and deciding what's good, but how do we just have something that's extremely co-constructed? And I just think how we know that service learning alone won't do the work of dismantling and reimagining and rebuilding, but how does it become one of the tools and vehicles where we are to be able to do that work? And so that's kind of what we talked about. You know, I think, you know, for me coming in as a new person, not only to this group, but to my role at Merman, I'm the director of equity, inclusion, and community. The number one thing is that, you know, we don't want to just, you know, we don't want a feel good moment. You know, we don't, you know, we want it to be, you know, a lot of discovery and learning for our students, but we want to think about how do we create game changers, right? People who are committed to changing not only the world around them, but ourselves, right? A lot of times we leave ourselves out of the equation. And so how do we use service learning to always think about self-reflection and critical reflection that will propel us forward in our communities forward? And so that's really what we talked about. I know that, you know, that's what I try to bring that approach to everything I do. And so I just want to think very critically with you all and with the students and families at our schools about how we do that and do that well.
Thank you, Tanette. Wow, from top to bottom and all sides, I could tell just from hearing from the breakout rooms and from looking through these notes that these were all really, really thoughtful conversations. And I think I'll take the word propel that you just said, that we want to end by propelling you into kind of the next realm and the next step for you. So Kathy was going to offer that we were going to close today just leading with a few aspirations.
So part of what, sir, I love what you just said. I'm kind of still spinning my head about what you said, Tanette, because years ago I was thinking what service learning really needs to be is sometimes it needs to be kind and sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's compassionate, but it really must be disruptive. That's what ultimately it needs to be, is to help young people become disruptors. There's a group out there I just want to mention you might want to look at called 1 Million of Us. And it was started by a young man who wanted to mobilize the vote, but there are young people out there doing such life-changing things right now. And we were able to involve some of them in the Document Our Vote experience. And he keeps sitting in my head like I'm supposed to tell you about this group, Jeanette. So I can also put you in touch with this young man, Jordan, because he probably would love to pop on a call with your students. And I think he would be really cool. So let's connect after this. And anybody else, just take a look at some of these connections, these groups of youth out there, and grab them. Youth will come and talk to you virtually to inspire your kids. I think that's just what they're doing. So I'm going to share my screen just for a moment, one last time. So one of the things we've been talking about is not just who you are, but who you want to be, and moving from a current reality to a better reality in terms of your service learning vision. So we're going to ask you right now to think about, what is your 6-word memoir? I didn't come up with that. There's a fellow at the New York Times who started 6-word memoirs. Look it up. It's just so cool. But I'm going to ask you all to write 6-word memoirs. And for Documentar, one of the schools in Shanghai
Concordia International School, an AP English teacher had their students write 6-word memoirs. So I put some samples up there. These are all written by high school kids about COVID and what's going on in their lives right now. But I'm going to ask you to take literally 1 minute. You've got a whole minute to write your memoir, 6 words, and put it in the chat, but do not send it. And I'm going to give you another 45 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you to all press send at the same time. So put your 6-word memoir in the chat. With the background sound, it sounds like it's an ocean. Wonderful. All right, everybody ready? Stop sharing. So give me a thumbs up that you're ready. Everybody, I need a thumbs up if you're ready to send. You're ready with your 6-word memoir. Let me see hands up. Are you ready, Greg? Okay, Jenny already posted. For the count of 3, 2, 1, press send. 6-word memoir. Wow. This is just another way to check in with people, see how they're doing, see what's on their mind and on their heart. So wonderful. Dance in the rain with abandon. Step out of your box, go explore. Hope for lots of work to do. Believe in potential for making change. Do inspire others and myself daily. Sitting stuck but moving quickly. Love this. You continue without perceived notions. Doing my best. Rising and falling and rising again. So from here, your 6-word memoirs, I'd like to personally thank you for joining us today. It's always inspiring to think and learn and grow as a community. Melissa and Donna, back to you. We tossed to Johnny to help us recenter ourselves so that we can reconnect with the real world and take these ideas, carry them in our hearts, and move forward. We got an election to deal with.
All right. So speaking of our hearts, I find that after meetings like this where we're sitting and looking at our screen, that our shoulders have started to hunch and our necks start to hurt. And so I really, if you have the time, encourage us to use this closing less about the breathing and more about breathing with movement. So if you could center yourself in your seat once again, I encourage you to close your eyes if you are comfortable with that. It's not necessary at all. But take a nice deep breath in through your nose again and let it out through your mouth. And this time when you breathe in, shrug your shoulders up to your ears, engage and tighten all the muscles in your back so that on the exhale, you can just relax them. And again, we're going to inhale. We're going to raise our hands up above our heads really gently. And then exhale, flexing through our fingertips, bring our hands back down. On the next exhale, I want you to drop your chin to your chest. Bring your hands behind your head, interlaced fingers, and just let your elbows hang loose with your hands behind your head and a gentle stretch in the back of your neck. And breathe here for 3 whole breaths through your nose. 2 more. Last one. Full breaths. On your next inhale, unlace your fingers and bring your chin back to a neutral position. And on the next exhale, let your head come back with your jaw open. And when it's back all the way, slowly close your jaw to bring a stretch into the front of your throat. And then breathe through your nose for 3 breaths. 2 more. Last one. And on your next inhale, come back to neutral. Bring your right hand over the top of your head to grab your left ear and let your right shoulder come down towards your left ear without twisting your neck at all. And we're just stretching the side of the neck here on the left side. And I would encourage you, if it's not too much of a stretch already, to extend your left arm out and flex your fingers towards your face and then slowly rotate the wrist. And that should bring a pretty noticeable stretch into not only the neck, but the nerve that runs from your jaw all the way out to your fingertip. And make sure you're breathing. On your next inhale, bring it back through neutral and just switch sides. If you extended the arm on the other side, do so on this side. Try not to lift the arm above the shoulder. It should be sort of down and away from your face. Use the breath to increase the stretch or relieve it. Take one final full breath here, in and out. And on the next inhale, bring your head back to a neutral position. And we're just gonna do one neck circle in each direction. So exhale, drop your chin to your chest. And then inhale your left ear to your left shoulder, and then the chin to the sky as you fill all the way up. And then begin your exhale as you bring your right ear to your right shoulder, chin to your chest. And then on the next inhale, just switch directions. Right ear, right shoulder, filling up, chin to sky. And letting go, left ear, left shoulder, emptying completely, chin to chest. On the next inhale, bring your chin back to a neutral position. And I want to thank everybody for being here today and for your presence and for this little moment of closing.
So thank you one and all. I was excited to hear about, I guess it was Mike talking about partnering, or Vinny, I forget which one, but Vinny maybe, but we'll be partnering in our next session. And what a rich, big conversation this was. So namaste all, stay well, stay focused. Let's do this, let's get things done.